phones, Babylons can't crack the
What it do, YouTube? B Kelly back again with another banger video. In today's video, y'all, I'll be talking about what happened to the past 10 #1 defensive back recruits coming out of high school from 2011 to 2020. And for this video, I'm using the 24/7 Sports Composite rankings. In the 2011 recruiting class, the #1 defensive back in the nation was safety Carlos Williams, who was also the #7 player in the nation as well, and he was committed to Florida State. Carlos Williams, in his career in college football as a defensive player, would only last 2 seasons. He only played on the defensive side of the ball for 2 full seasons as he was a backup safety in both of them, and he only made 1 career start as a safety for Florida State. His career totals as a safety for Florida State is 47 total tackles, and 1 tackle for loss, and 1 interception. Going into his junior season, he was a safety, but after 1 game, he got moved to running back, and he was the main running back almost immediately right when he made his switch. In his junior season as a running back, he rushed for 730 yards, averaging 8 yards per carry and 11 touchdowns. In his senior season in the 2014 college football season as a running back, he would be the starter in the beginning, but would eventually get replaced by Dalvin Cook. In his senior season, he rushed for 689 rushing yards, averaging 4.6 yards per carry and 11 touchdowns. Despite only playing running back on the college football level for 2 seasons, including one where he eventually got replaced by Dalvin Cook in his final season, he was still selected in the 5th round by the Buffalo Bills in the 2015 NFL Draft. In Williams' rookie season at Buffalo, he started in 3 games and appeared in 11 of them, and he put up some pretty decent numbers for a guy who only appeared in 11 games and only started in 3 of them. He rushed for 517 yards, had 17 touchdowns, averaging 5.6 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns through the air as well. Although Williams had a promising start in Buffalo, things would not last very long in his NFL career. When he showed up to camp in 2016, he was out of shape and he violated the NFL's substance abuse policy, and then he got released. Then he was put on the practice squad for the Steelers, where he then, for the 2nd time, violated the NFL's substance abuse policy, then was released shortly after that. Then in the 2017 in the summer, he violated the NFL substance abuse policy again for a 3rd time, and was suspended until February 21st, 2019, and he has not been in the NFL since, but is currently in the Canadian Football League with the Toronto Argonauts. In the 2012 recruiting class, the #1 defensive back in the nation was also the #4 player in the nation as well, and that was Shaq Thompson, safety, who was committed to Washington. Shaq Thompson at Washington was a star. He was a 3-year starter that played linebacker / defensive back, mainly linebacker while he was at Washington, and he had 232 total tackles in his career, 15 for loss, 3.5 sacks, 5 interceptions, 8 pass deflections, 2 touchdowns, 4 fumble recoveries, and 2 forced fumbles. After an amazing junior campaign at Washington, Shaq Thompson would declare his name early for the 2015 NFL Draft, where he was selected with the 25th overall pick in the 1st round by the Carolina Panthers. In Shaq Thompson's 6-year NFL career spent with the Carolina Panthers so far, I think he's been one of the more consistent defensive players for the Panthers year in and year out, and in my opinion, I think he's one of the more underrated defensive players in the NFL. Now, so far in his NFL career, he has 470 total tackles, 35 for loss, 9.5 sacks, 1 interception, 4 forced fumbles, and 3 fumble recoveries. In the 2013 recruiting class, the #1 defensive back in the nation was also the #3 player in the nation as well, and that was cornerback Vernon Hargraves III, who was committed to Florida. Vernon Hargraves, in the 3 seasons he spent at Florida, he played very good in every season, where he had a total of 121 tackles in his career, 10 interceptions, 27 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, and 2 fumble recoveries. And after his junior season in 2015, he would declare early for the 2016 NFL Draft, where he was taken in the 1st round, 11th overall pick by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Vernon Hargraves, when he is playing, usually plays pretty well, and with the Buccaneers, despite playing a little less than 4 years for them, he was mainly a starter when he was playing, but he did have some injury issues. In 2017, he only appeared in 9 games and missed the rest of the season with hamstring issues, and in 2018 only played in 1 game and was out for the season with a shoulder injury. And in 2019, after 9 games with the Buccaneers, he was released, and then right after he was done with the Buccaneers, he got picked up by the Houston Texans. In the rest of the 2019 NFL season, Vernon would end up starting in 2 of the 6 games he appeared in with the Texans, but in the 2020 season, he started in every game for the Texans that season. So far in his 6-year NFL career, he's had 258 total tackles, 28 pass deflections, 3 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. In the 2014 recruiting class, the number 1 defensive back in the nation was Quinn Blanding, safety out of Virginia. He was also the number 6 player in that class, and he would decide to be a hometown hero and commit to Virginia. Quinn would be a 4-year starter for the Virginia Cavaliers, and he had a really good career as a safety. He had 492 total tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 10 interceptions, 16 pass deflections, 1 touchdown, 2 fumble recoveries, and 1 forced fumble. Despite having the career he had at Virginia, Quinn would end up going undrafted in the 2018 NFL Draft. He spent a short time with the Washington football team, then was on the Carolina Panthers practice squad in the 2019 season, but he was ultimately waived by the Panthers going into the 2020 NFL season and is currently not on a team. Coming out of the 2015 recruiting class, the number 1 defensive back in the nation was also the number 4 recruit in the nation as well, and that was Iman Marshall, cornerback out of California, who was committed to USC. In the 4 seasons that Marshall spent at USC, he racked up a total of 218 tackles, 9.5 tackles for loss, 6 interceptions, 36 pass deflections, and 1 forced fumble. In the 2019 NFL Draft, he was taken with the 127th overall pick in the 4th round by the Baltimore Ravens. In Marshall's rookie season in the 2019 NFL season, he would only appear in 3 games after having a very injury-riddled season. In the 2020 NFL season, he would not appear in any games, as in preseason he actually tore his ACL. In the 2016 recruiting class, the number 1 defensive back in the nation was cornerback Levante Taylor, who was also the number 7 overall recruit in that class, and he was committed to Florida State. Although Levante Taylor had all the potential in the world to be the next great Florida State defensive back, for the 4 years he spent at Florida State, he was very injury-riddled and struggled to play a full season healthy. In his career, he racked up 90 total tackles, 5.5 for loss, 1 sack, 4 interceptions, 10 pass deflections, and 1 forced fumble. Levante Taylor would go undrafted in the 2020 NFL Draft, but shortly after he'd be signed as an undrafted free agent to the Los Angeles Rams, but he would end up getting released on August 11th, 2020. In the 2018 recruiting class, the number 1 defensive back in the nation was also the number 8 overall recruit, and that was cornerback Jeff Okudah, who was committed to Ohio State. In Jeff Okudah's 3-year career at Ohio State, he racked up 83 total tackles, 3 interceptions, 8 pass deflections, 2 fumble recoveries, and 1 forced fumble. Going into the 2020 NFL Draft, he was seen as one of the best defensive backs going into that draft, and he was even taken with the 3rd overall pick by the Detroit Lions. In Jeff Okudah's rookie season in Detroit, he would only appear in 9 games and starting in 6 of them, where he racked up 47 total tackles, 2 pass deflections, and 1 interception. In the 2018 recruiting class, the number 1 defensive back in the nation was also the number 6 overall recruit, and that was Patrick Surtain II, cornerback, who was committed to Alabama. Patrick Surtain II has been an immediate impact player for Alabama since he stepped foot on campus. In his 3 seasons at Alabama so far, he has racked up 116 total tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 4 interceptions, 24 pass deflections, 1 fumble recovery, and 4 forced fumbles, and was even recognized as one of the best defensive backs in all of college football in all of his years he's played at Alabama. And not only that, going into the 2021 NFL Draft, he is seen as possibly a top 10 pick and a for sure first-round pick. Coming out of the 2019 recruiting class, the number 1 defensive back in the nation was the number 3 overall recruit, and that was Derek Stingley, cornerback who was committed to LSU. Derek Stingley Jr. got off to a very hot start to start off his college football career at LSU. In 2019, he even won a national championship and was recognized as one of the best defensive backs in all of college football that season. In 15 games with the Tigers, he had 38 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 6 interceptions, 15 pass deflections, and 1 fumble recovery. Derek Stingley Jr. in the 2020 college football season would have a quieter season than 2019, mainly due to a couple injury issues, playing a shorter season, and that he was hospitalized in the beginning of the season due to an illness. But in the 7 games he played in for the Tigers, he had 27 total tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, 5 pass deflections, 1 fumble recovery, and 1 forced fumble. In the 2020 recruiting class, the number 1 defensive back was also the number 4 overall recruit, and that was Keeley Ringo, who was committed to Georgia. Ringo would not appear in a single game in his freshman season in the 2020 college football season due to a shoulder injury he sustained in the beginning of the year, and he missed the entire season. Well guys, now that I'm at the end of the video, remember to smash that like button, turn on them post notifications, and subscribe for more videos. B. Kelly, out!